Richard, thanks a lot for sitting down with me.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Yeah, great to chat with you more. I mean, for my life, you've been a big part of these 518 Kettlebell Club
Hmm.
experiences. And shout out to Nora Matthew and her Strength Studio for
For sure.
letting us men into the inner sanctum
I
once a
agree.
month there.
I agree.
But for you and your life, where did it all begin? Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
So I was actually born in Tucson, Arizona. Moved around a lot. My father was a construction worker, and so I ended up in Oregon. And then after Oregon, we moved to a very small town about a couple hours west of here, near Utica. Very, very small rural town. 80 kids in my graduating class. One of those types of places you could, play five sports, and they'd allow you to do that because there were so like few teams, like few kids on sports teams and stuff, which was really cool. Um, yeah, growing up out there, I mean, it was a really great life. So, mom was a nurse, dad drove a tow truck, and just kind of worked with my hands my whole life growing up. Played a bunch of sports, and yeah, it was a good life.
Yeah,
So,
what sports did you play and what were some of your favorites?
so I played until around 10th grade. I was playing soccer and running cross country in the fall for fall sports. I was a little too aggressive, so I actually got kicked off the soccer team. Yep. I got,
Okay.
yeah, I got kicked off. I got 4 red cards in one season. You're supposed to get kicked off at three. I had one withdrew, and they actually like got it taken back, and then I got another one the next game back. So they're like, you should probably play football. And I was like, sounds good. So ended up playing football. I played basketball my whole life. Basketball was my favorite sport that I played when I was growing up. It was something we played year round as a school. I had like a dynasty um, team as far as like my high school goes.
Yeah.
Like we had only lost like maybe I think one home game in like 20 years or something like that. Like that's how good of a Class C school we were.
Yep.
So I played basketball, and then in the springtime I played baseball and ran track. So yeah, it
Okay.
was like you had to pick a sport, and then if there wasn't anything like coinciding, they'd let you, if there was a game or a meet, you could go to the meet instead of playing baseball or whatever it was. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool. Um, yeah, and then after high school, I went to college, played football, blew out my shoulder playing football. That was kind of the end of my sports career. Um,
What position did you play for football?
so I started as an outside linebacker, and then I moved to an inside linebacker. I gained about 35 pounds of muscle my freshman year of college, and so I was just a big guy. I was like 245 when I was in college, so I'm like 202 right now. So it's just
Yeah.
pretty different.
So no relation to Khalil Mack?
No, no,
No.
no, 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 definitely not.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, I blew my shoulder out, and then I kind of just didn't really change most of my habits. I actually got really, really heavy after that. So I ended up getting pretty fat actually. So I was
Yeah.
up to like 285 at one point.
Okay.
So didn't work out, didn't do anything. I had a blown out shoulder, and I just kind of like lost myself in alcohol when I was in college, and it
Yeah.
kind of just it stayed with me for a long time.
So what point of your life in college were you when you blew out your shoulder?
It was my sophomore
Your
year.
sophomore year?
Yeah. Yep.
So what's going through your mind at that point, like when that happens, that your life as you know it is just over?
Yeah, it was strange. Like I actually like when I went to college, like I actually developed like an alcohol problem like very seriously when I went to college, and
Yeah.
it didn't really bother me. I was like, whatever, I'll just drink. That's all I really cared about at that
Yeah.
point in time in my life. It was just was what it was.
Yeah.
But and then so I ended up leaving college because I was like, well, this isn't for me. I just wanted to party and like live that kind of life. So then the next probably like 3 years of my life, I just spent like trying to find jobs that could support the lifestyle that I wanted to have, which was just very not conducive to myself. So I just like became my own worst enemy at that point in time. Um, but then I moved to Charleston. I found some good friends that I lived down there with, and I started.
South Carolina?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I started personal training down there, and that was when I first started like getting really into fitness again. This was back in 2006. So I've got personal training certification back then. I started working at East Shore Athletic Club and serving tables, and then I started just that was my life for a little while, was serving tables and personal training.
Yeah. So let me go back to kind of your words feeling like you were fat, like
Yeah.
gained all this weight.
Mm.
I've had a lot of conversations already with people who were athletes who
Yep.
dealt with some sort of injury or sense of identity
For
from
sure.
that's where they were. You don't have that anymore and you're trying
Mm.
to find something, and obviously alcohol you were using to fill the void.
Yeah.
So what was that catalyst for you to really start making that change into getting healthier?
You know, to be honest, I don't really know where the shift went because I was still drinking really heavily, like when I
Okay.
started getting back in shape.
Yeah.
So I found, there was a day where like I it was probably like I had some friends who just like started like calling me nicknames, like actually bullying me, and I was like, these guys are kind of right. Like I've never been like that. So when I grew up, I was kind of heavy, and then it was kind of the same pattern that I went through when I was younger. So like I was young, I was chubby, and then when I turned like 12 years old, I like developed an eating disorder and like started to self harm, and then I started to run a lot. So and then I went from being really heavy to really skinny and like a big runner, and then as time went on, and then the drinking after like during school, and then once I got out of college, not out of college, but once I left college and I was just working, like some of my friends just kind of like they just started picking on me ruthlessly, which I mean, I feel like good friends do that to each other, but just like, dude, like you're getting heavy.
Yeah.
So, and it was like one of those things where like I just started playing sports and training again and like working out, and then it just kind of like slowly shifted to like wanting to be healthy again, but I didn't want to give up alcohol was the problem. Like I wanted to, but I just couldn't. So it's like I would go through these phases where I would drink and then I would stop for like a couple months and like get really health oriented. And then I would go through binges again. And then it just like progressively got worse and worse and worse. And then eventually when my father died, I just kind of like fell apart completely. So
How old were you when your dad died?
I was 28.
Okay. It's only a few years younger than when I was when my dad died last
Yeah.
year. So when that's going through your mind, like what kind of relationship did you have with your dad that made you obviously kind of go through what you went through when your dad died?
Yeah, so I mean, my dad and me, like since I was young, like I worked with him, I rode in trucks, and like I was with him all the time.
Okay.
So in the morning, before school, after school, on the weekends, like we just spent all of our time together. So it was one of those relationships that we had that he taught me like most things that I know in my life about like work ethic and all those things. So like it was a hard blow for me. Like we all knew it was coming because he collapsed and had like some issues with his lungs from being in the Navy and breathing asbestos and like doing all that stuff for so long and smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day and working in construction, and it was destined to happen. He found out and they were like, all right, he's on borrowed time. We don't know how much longer he's going to have left. And then when like had another episode, he went back to the hospital and he like kind of like he just went into a coma, and we just had to kind of pull the plug on him. It was really hard to
Yeah.
sit through.
How old was
So
he when he died?
he was born in 44, so he died in so 69. He was 69 when he died.
Okay. So around the same age as my dad was when he
Yeah.
died. At the time when he passed away, did you have any type of close male friends to help you kind of navigate that?
I mean, I had a decent amount, but the
Okay.
like I was kind of an asshole back then, so I didn't have a lot of friends left.
Yeah.
Like I kind of ruined most of my relationships that I had by that point
Mainly
in
just
time.
because of the alcohol?
Yeah, because alcohol.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was just like the type of person like I would just burn a lot of bridges all the time. So my friends would help me find jobs or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and then I would just like not show up for work, and then so people just kind of like distance themselves from me. So
Yeah.
like in the very beginning of it, like things were okay. Like I had a girlfriend that I'd been with for a little while at that point in time, and like she kind of helped me through. But like most relationships that I had back then, I kind of just eventually just distanced myself, and it's like you need to be with someone that's better than me. Like I have a severe problem, so I just kind of slowly
Yeah.
pushed people away, and then and then after that, I moved to Saratoga from like the Utica area to try to like escape my old life and like start anew and start a new life and all these things. I did good for a little while, and then I just started drinking again, and that's when
Yeah.
yeah, I developed like I had a pretty bad problem. So I ended up getting in trouble. I spent like almost a year in a halfway house, and like after the halfway house, I went to like a 3/4 house, and then I just started over again. And it's actually I'll be 10 years sober a week from today. So
Congrats.
yeah. So that was 10 years ago,
Wow.
like now,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
So
So
when you think about 10 years ago,
yeah.
what were really those first experiences like making that decision that you're going to get sober, and how did you start to really build that journey for yourself?
So well, for me, it was a little bit easier because I was forced into a place where like I ended up getting arrested. So I was actually incarcerated. So for a very brief period, like it wasn't a brief period of time, it was like 8 months. But so like in that time frame when I was there, like I just had a lot of time to kind of decide what kind of life I wanted to have. So like I was there, spent time like thinking about like, is this really what I want to do with my life, and like where I want to be, and like how I want to live my life. And like, you need some time to like have the mental fog lift away from you when you're addicted to things. So, and like after that mental fog started lifting, it's like, all right, like I'm still pretty young. Like I can truly change my life if I decide that I want to do that. And like it was there that I kind of found that clarity, like just being by myself, being alone, reading, like constant writing, concentrating on like different routines and like things to kind of like work on my mental health, and like being alone and like isolated like that. Like in the beginning was very hard, but it actually ended up being very good for me.
Yeah. What were you reading? What were you writing? What types of things were you feeding your mind at that time?
The writing has always been just journaling, or I would write. I've wrote poetry for a long time, so I'd like write poems about different things, and most of it was like journaling how I felt and like working through like my emotions. And like I've just always been a very closed off person, so like putting it out somewhere was very good for me. Um, as far as reading goes, like I read a lot of self help books. I read, and then I would kind of mix up sometimes. I read the Game of Thrones series a couple times while I was there, and
Yeah.
so ended up playing poker again a little bit here and there, and kind of
Okay.
making some friends and playing chess. But I
Yeah.
mean, other than that, like for the most part, I don't speak to anyone that was there anymore. You just kind of
Yeah.
like most situations.
So when was that you got out of that stint in incarceration?
So that was October of 20. That was nine years ago, so 2016.
Okay. And this was before or after you'd already been in South Carolina?
So this is far after South
Far
Carolina.
after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're now out of that stint.
Yep.
What do you do now?
So the agreement that I had was I had to go to a halfway house. So I went to a halfway house, and that's where I started like developing friendships that I have like to this day. I met a sponsor to like help me go to AA meetings, and then go back to the gym, and I started going to the YMCA and like developing good habits with my life. And then they make you go to like inpatient treatment for a while, and then like you learn and talk about your emotions and like different things, and like how to create new habits and like create a new life for yourself. You work with counselors, and then eventually they're like, okay, you're good to go back out into the world, and they kind of let you go back out into the world. So, and then so when I left, I moved back to Saratoga. Like I moved back downtown Saratoga, and the place that I worked, I started working at a restaurant like pretty much immediately, because that's what I knew that I could do, and like start to make some good money again. And that's where I met like one of the guys that's still one of my best friends, who was also like, we just had some conversations, we kind of hit it off, and he ended up being in recovery too. So it was actually really good for me. Like I got this job at this place with this guy who was also like very, very fresh and newly in recovery, and like just started developing that life again. And I'd done CrossFit for that point at, since probably 2008. So it's just jumping back into CrossFit, and started coaching at one of the gyms that was up there again after I'd stopped coaching for a while. And yeah, I mean, ever since then, I mean, a lot of those guys that I met back then, I mean, most of them are relapsed, unfortunately, but there's a solid 3 of them that are still like pretty close to me in my life, which is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, so
Yeah.
you've had this interesting journey in my mind, paralleling one another between your sobriety journey and then eventually becoming an owner of a CrossFit gym yourself. Can you walk me through what that was originally like, going from just going to work out at a CrossFit, working at a restaurant in recovery, to all of a sudden now eventually becoming the owner of CrossFit Schenectady?
Yeah. So it was kind of strange how the whole thing happened. Like my thought around fitness was like, I wanted to try to compete in the sport of CrossFit. And like, I was a very, very good CrossFitter. And like, I was trying to find a place that I could like be competitive and still feel like I was a part of the community. And I could never really find that. And so eventually when I was down here, I ended up going to a gym that was down here called Black Sheep. And at Black Sheep, like I thought that I found a good community. And then the guy that I came down there for, the coach, ended up selling his half of the business to someone else. And then I tried to go back to the old gym that I was at, and it just wasn't the same, because they were all mad at me for leaving in the first place.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to go do what's better for me. And then, so that gym was there. And then there was literally one morning that I was just sitting in the house, and I was looking on my phone, and it says CrossFit gym for sale, in Albany, New York. And I just started looking into it, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go see what this is about. So I ended up going down and meeting with the owner, and it seemed like a perfect opportunity for me, because it was like she wanted to still be there, the owner of the gym at the time. And she wanted to still be there. I didn't have a lot of, like, I just wanted to have a gym that I could train in and like some of my friends could train in, and we could have like a competitive atmosphere with like general population classes, and like everyone could kind of be intermingled, and it could be like a really cool community of like how CrossFit used to be, where it was you had competitive athletes and they were really tight knit with the community, which CrossFit really has gotten away from. And then I literally bought it 3 weeks before COVID happened. So bought it 3 weeks before COVID happened, immediately had to shut the doors. So yeah.
So what got you through it?
Just my irrational belief of just refusing to give up to things. Yeah. So I think a lot of like the hardships that I've gone through have kind of shaped me to be like very resilient with things, and was just like, I'm not going to let this break me. So
right.
It was just one of those things where it was very unfortunate. Like I had to let the whole staff go, and it's just like, I can't, there's no members. Like I can't do anything. I just paid all this money for this gym, and
yeah,
like we can't even be open. I don't know anybody. So it was that. So I opened and then had to close. And then there was all these members that didn't know what they were going to do. And I ended up lending like all of the equipment from the entire gym out to the members that were there, and just letting them take it home, and like trying to do online remote programming for people, which I'm very good at. Like I've been doing that since '06. So it's like I was writing all these programs for people and just like let them have all my equipment. And then eventually they were like, all right, you guys can sort of come back, sort of not. So I ended up putting like tents outside the building, and we were working out outside with masks on, like with all the doors open, and like the city came and like looked over things, and we're like, you got to change. And it was just, but it was what everyone had to do during COVID, which is okay.
So what's your take on CrossFit now? Because you mentioned that CrossFit in your mind got away from what it used to be.
Yeah.
Feels like it's kind of having a little bit of a comeback. You've got the CrossFit Games coming to Albany later this summer.
Yeah.
So what's your take on it right now?
So I think that a lot of people, there's different stigmas about it as far as like different people are concerned. People that love CrossFit. And then there's the other side of it that I think that there became too big of a separation between like competitive athletes and like the general community and like the general population. And I think that it was taken too far in the direction of like, this is for competitive people. So like the amount of times that I've heard people say like, oh, I need to get in shape before I try CrossFit is kind of like,
yeah,
you know, it's weird to hear that.
So what is it to you? Because it gets thrown around a lot, and I know a lot of people might be listening, watching this. They might have an idea of what CrossFit is. They know like High Rocks is a newer thing out there. Yeah. So what is CrossFit really to you?
So CrossFit to me is like, I'm a very fundamental person as far as like how I feel that it is, because I've been doing CrossFit since it pretty much started, like back in 2007 and 2008. And for me, it's doing functional movements like squatting, pulling, pushing, hinging, like all of those things, like as a group in a community, and like learning to kind of like have a tribe that you can be with and like get better. And the best part about CrossFit is like, it's always meant to be like universally scalable, no matter what the movement is. Like even if it's a high skilled gymnastics movement, it's like there's a high skilled gymnastics movement for a person that's a very, very good athlete. And then there is a skilled version all the way down to something that like my mother could do, who's 72 years old. So, and then having not having a disparity between the two anymore, where it's like that person and this person can get a very similar stimulus to this workout. So no matter who you are and what your background and like what your goals are, like this is a good option for you to be able to do to like be healthy and like create the kind of life that you want to try to have.
Yeah. So what are your goals for it now?
So what we do at my gym is we have different tracks as far as like what people can follow, as far as like what they want their goals to be. I don't know how most other CrossFit gyms do it, but we basically do a strength piece, and then we do some form of conditioning. I think a lot of gyms probably stick to that similar sequence, but we don't do a lot of like the very high skilled movements during class times. So we don't like clean and jerk and snatch like as a strength piece during the workout. It's like there are time and places for that. We have a weightlifting class. We have like these specialized classes that teach these high skilled things that people can want to do. But during class time, it's like anyone can come. If we're doing like generally we're going to squat, we're going to deadlift, we're going to do some form of pressing, we're going to do some form of pulling, and then we're going to raise our heart rates a little bit, and we're going to sweat, and we're going to have fun. And like, that's the purpose of class. But then there's also, on the flip side of that, there are pieces of the programming that kind of go above and beyond that. So there's like the people that want to develop like a very high, like robust aerobic system. Like they have all their extra conditioning pieces that they can do, so that they're getting time with the class because they can take the class. It overlaps with their conditioning, and then they can stay after and they can do the conditioning. They can do the weightlifting. They can work on their gymnastics. They can work on all those things outside of class, but still be a part of the community, like during class time. So, for example, it's like if I wanted to train, I would go in at like 3 o'clock and I would do all the weightlifting stuff with other people that are weightlifting. 4:15, there's a class. I take the class with everybody that's taking class. So it's like, I'm a competitive athlete. I just did my weightlifting. Now I'm part of the community, back part with the class. And then afterwards, class is over, break it down, and then I get something to eat. And then I go off and I do my gymnastics and I do all those other things. So, and that's like how we try to structure things. So it's like, if you want to be competitive in the sport of CrossFit, which a lot of people do, like it's just fun, like there's a place for you there. If you want to be competitive in weightlifting, there's a place for you there. If you want to be just in shape by weightlifting, there's a place for you there. So, and if you want to just come and be part of a super cool community and just have fun and work out for an hour, 3 days a week and try to like develop some good habits, like there's a place for you there as well. So, and that's like what CrossFit is always, like, in my opinion, has been meant to be.
Yeah. There's definitely some cool people I've gotten to know who are part of your community, whether it's Jared.
Yeah. Oh, you know Jared?
I know Jared.
From Run Club?
Sunday Run Day. Yeah.
Nice.
He's talked to me a lot about the programming, just in his own ongoing prep for. I mean, at the time we're recording this, I think he's training for like an ultra marathon or an Ironman. Ironman, yeah.
Lake Placid.
And I know he's brought JP there to do some workouts, and then Danny Pigliavento. Shout out to Danny P. He's done some workouts there. Yeah. And he likes to combine that with the Pilates and yoga a lot, as I do with metabolic and like hot yoga spot. Yeah. Can you talk to me a little bit about the cross training kind of style of CrossFit? Because you mentioned all these different goals. Mm-hmm. How have you seen that maybe for yourself in terms of your own training, how CrossFit might play into other types of exercise?
So like generally when you, like if you can do like the fundamentals, like you're going to get better at generally anything that you do, like building bone density and like building muscle tissue. It's like, if you want to be a better, like that's why people like JP show up. It's like he understands and like knows that the stronger his hip flexors are, the better he's going to be able to run. So, and it's like for someone that's a swimmer, it's like the stronger and more resilient your shoulders are, then the better you are going to be at swimming. So for me, it's the aspect of like all of this is going to translate into life like very, very well. Some of the movements, probably not. I'm going to be realistic. Like you don't need to be able to snatch 225 pounds for things that are just normal in everyday life. But you know, being able to lift something up over your head like a dumbbell that's at a decently heavy weight. I mean, that's something that's definitely something that hopefully you could be able to do, because I don't see a point in my life that I would ever not want to be able to lift something up over my head. But as far as like different modalities of training and like when we're there, so it's trying to like be able to sprint, be able to run long distances, be able to have an elevated heart rate for a longer period of time, being able to, you know, do all those things. Like there's going to be major benefits to that just in life in general. So the healthier you are, the better the life that you can have. It's just, you can experience things that other people can't. You can do things that other people can't. So, and it's just one of those things, like you can have a really, really nice life and just do things for a long period of time, and you can have a longer life if you choose fitness and you choose to be healthy. Yeah.
And I think that there's an awakening that's happening in our culture. For whatever reason, a lot of voices in culture, in my mind, have just so radically gone in an opposite direction of trying to appease. You know, it's one thing, we obviously don't want to body shame people, but at the same point, like there is a reality that if you are overweight, you're going to be more likely to develop certain health things. And that's that shouldn't be a controversial statement. No. And I know that you, in my mind, are very unapologetic in how you talk about it on your own social media. Yep. So for yourself, you touched on like doing hard things, and that's kind of the benefits of exercise. I wanted to ask you about your cold plunge routine.
Okay.
Are you still doing that every single day?
I don't do them every day anymore. So
what was that year like for you though, of doing that every single morning?
I mean, it was, there's a lot of days that it was very hard to do. So it got to the point pretty quickly where I actually started seeing like adverse health benefits as far as like physicality goes. Cause it's just like, I was spending a massive amount of time in the water, and like my body fat percentage actually started to increase. So I don't know if that's normal for people, but I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like my body's like, you need to have a little fat on your body to be able to withstand this cold. First couple of months, it was like I dropped a tremendous amount of weight. Like I felt really good. And then like just became one of those things. Like I set it out for myself as a goal that I wanted to do it for a year because I knew how hard it was going to be to do that. So it became more of a mental thing for me than anything, where it's like I am in control of my own mind. So that's why I was doing it. I picked a very hard time of the day. So it's like I made myself have to get out of bed and immediately get in the water and do it at a certain point in time. And it just was no fun at all, pretty much ever. I never wanted to get in the water. It never got easier.
But what made you want to do it in the first place?
I just wanted to choose something that like I knew that I hated to do and like just make myself do it. Cause I literally hate doing cold plunges.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where I was like, all right, I'm going to pick something that I can do. And like, I know that I can do it. I just have to develop the discipline to be able to do it. Like I've accomplished some very, very hard things in my life. So this was one of those things where I was like, all right, this is something that's going to take discipline around going to bed at the right time. It's going to take discipline to talk myself into getting in the water in the morning. It's going to take like when I go on trips for work or whatever it might be, it's like trying to like set my life up around it to try to make sure that I could do those things. So it was more, there's no real health benefits to doing it every day.
Yeah.
So 3 times a week, great. They're tremendous health benefits, but every day for the amount of time that I was doing, like I spent over a full day in the water last year.
Yeah.
So at like my sub 40 degrees. So
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Discipline has been real freedom for you in all areas of your life.
For sure.
Why is the concept of discipline maybe tell me if you agree with this.
Yeah.
It feels like to me increasingly the idea of discipline is actually countercultural.
Yeah.
Building your life around having a very stable, structured, disciplined routine, prioritizing your fitness and wellness. It just seems countercultural. Do you agree with that at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know why. I think that a lot of people think that like, okay, I just want to experience my life, or they just want to more live in the moment and they want more, like they want to live in those times, I think. And like being super rigid and super disciplined, like it's just, for me, I've always, like around sport and around things, it's like, that's just where I operate really well is when I'm disciplined. Cause it's like the like motivation kind of, it goes away pretty quick for most, including myself. So it's like being disciplined around like specific things will help you with all areas of life. Like if you can be disciplined with your food and you can be disciplined with the time that you go to bed and the time that you wake up, it's like you can pretty much be disciplined around anything.
Yeah. If
you can control those two things, because they're the hardest in my opinion.
So when you're on your sobriety journey over the last decade or so, when did kind of your wife come into play? Mm-hmm. Can you talk to me a little how like your relationships developed into ultimately now like your own family? Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was in the program, like going to like the meetings and all that stuff, like her brother was actually like in those groups as well. So like him and I kind of became friends, and then that's where I met her, was through him. But yeah, I mean, so it was good. Like she knew that I had issues. Like she had experience with people that had issues because her brother had those same similar problems, and she could just, she was one of those types of people, like she could see like the person that I like had the potential of becoming, and like that kind of stuck with, like I've been with her for quite a while. Like I was pretty fresh out of, like, why would you even want to be with me? I live in a freaking halfway house, like type thing. But like she was great. It's been great. Always is.
Yeah.
So, now we got 2 girls, and she stays at home and raises them very well. So, which is wonderful. And, but yeah, I mean, she's always been very supportive of everything. Like even in the fitness in the beginning, like she got into CrossFit because I was like, she knew it. She's like, if she wanted to spend time with me, she had to go do CrossFit, because that's where I was. I was working, doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
But she's definitely had a hard journey, because I'm a very ambitious and very disciplined person. It's like I work like more than most people will probably. Like I haven't taken a day off since Christmas, and like I work 12-hour days, like almost at a bare minimum every day. So it's like I've been like that for a very long time, and I don't know if that's just part. I mean, it's probably not super healthy, but it's just kind of
Maybe at times,
Yeah.
but at the same point, though, I think it speaks to the question I wanted to ask you just generally about masculinity.
Yeah.
I mean, your own journey and kind of finding your own sense of strength and
Mm-hmm.
self through your sobriety journey, your professional journey with
Yep.
CrossFit and everything. I know you have opinions on it. So like what is your take on the kind of the state of the modern man?
Yeah. I think that it's very hard to be a man. I think there's a lot of different opinions out there, and most men don't really know what they should be anymore. And I think that's very hard. I think most men live like a life of a very quiet desperation almost, where it's like they feel very lost, like they feel like they don't have a voice, they don't know, they think that people don't care, because I mean, for the most part, like it does feel that way. So men don't really have close friends anymore, so they don't have a tribe to hang out with, they don't have other men to go do hard things with, they just don't have the things that are around them. Like most of them are, not eating the right foods. They support their testosterone. They're buried in, they have porn addictions. It's just, I think that most men are just very confused and very lost and very alone, just in general. And I think that, it's something that we definitely have to deal with as a group, and as men. Like, we need to help bring other men into our close circles and try to all become better.
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of that. I have found in my own journey that the fitness community and the guys that I get to work out with, whether it's running with guys like Jared or JP, well, they're running usually ahead of me. They're at a whole other level than me. But when we're getting coffee afterwards and talking about their run versus my run, this is always fun. Yeah. But even just on a competitive level, kind of seeing what you can do for reps or weight with certain guys in the gym. Yeah. I love that. Has that been part of your own journey as well, through your sobriety journey, like really leveraging those male relationships through your own fitness journey?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%. I've had very strong male relationships since all through sobriety. So, both in fitness and in my personal life, like I don't have a tremendous amount of friends, but the ones that I do are very, very close. So, and it's like, I'm just most of the friends that I might not talk to you for 2 months, and but we're still super, super close. But as far as the competitive nature around sport, that's definitely always going to be there. So, and putting yourself around people that are also competitive, and it's you can compete against each other and basically fight it out in sport. And then all of a sudden it's why I love jujitsu so much. It's you do those things and then you're done. And then it's everyone, you're challenging each other, you're trying really hard. And it's you just develop that respect for each other of this is what we're doing together. It's as close to, I don't know, male camaraderie as you can possibly get outside of firefighters. There's these guys that just, that's honestly one of the parts that I miss the most about drinking, is just going out with my boys. We're all on the football team. Right. Everyone's just being loud and yelling and wrestling and just being, and just that, literally that huge male bond with each other. Yeah. So, and just, I know women will never understand, because it doesn't make any sense. It just really doesn't. But there's just there's a sort of feeling around it, I think.
Well, I think a lot of it is women do a great job of creating community for themselves, whether it's entrepreneurial groups that I've gotten to know here in the capital region, or within fitness communities themselves. I think instinctively women are just way more collaborative.
Oh, absolutely.
Than men.
Absolutely.
And it's a silly thing, because I think in my mind, it's one of those weird things which I don't really understand. Maybe it's a hyper individuality that certain guys think that they can't talk openly about with other guys about what they're dealing with. Yeah. But in the right context, whether it's linking up for a conversation or training together, really fun things can happen. So I'm curious though, because in my mind, one of my favorite parts of our relationship is we met at Her Strength Studio. Yeah. Through 518 Kettlebell Club. Yeah. And for those of people who are listening, watching, who don't know Her Strength, it's an intentional fitness community for women, run by our mutual friend, Nora Matthew. So how did you get linked up with Nora?
So go back to COVID. Yeah. So my friend Dean, who was the coach that was at the gym that sold the gym, that then wasn't a coach anymore, that I had to go back to my old gym to train at. So he was the one that had Black Sheep. He was the owner of that gym. Yeah. He ended up being my coach for a long time. When I was competitive in CrossFit, he was my coach. So I did his programs. He was like my trainer and my coach. So when COVID happened, he was like, I'm going to start a community of different gym owners, and we're just going to all like create this little collaborative and try to like help each other get through things. So, and then we, every week, or maybe it might've been 2 days a week, we would just get on these Zoom meetings and we'd all talk and we'd all like have different perspectives as to like things that we could do to try to help each other get through COVID. And then, Nora and I just became friends through that. And we have a lot of similar beliefs as like just a lot of things in general. So,
Yeah.
and then, so yeah, it just kind of, that's where it all came from.
Yeah.
So
were you involved with her in kind of starting 518 Kettlebell Club, or was that really just her thing that
just her thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's such a cool community.
It is.
Just that once a month group, and I haven't been able to get there in a couple months, but for those of you who might be listening, watching, 518 Kettlebell Club, it's a once a month, first Sunday of the month.
Sunday a month, yep.
And it's a free open workout, usually at 9 a.m. At her strength studio. And I joke about it as the one time that boys are allowed at the all girls club, but it really is an amazing thing that they do. And and shout out to Nora and the whole team there.
Yeah.
But what got you into kettlebells? Because do you do a lot of kettlebell stuff at CrossFit, or was that something else you got into?
I do. I mean, we do a decent amount.
Yeah.
I like to learn things. I'm not the greatest at kettlebells. So like anything that's going to challenge me. So, and that's where that kind of came from. I did like some of the kettlebell like certifications with CrossFit, but they're just not the same. So like the 2-day classes, I thought that I was good, and then it turns out I'm not that good. So, so I just wanted to, it's just fun to learn, and try to like, and that's more it for me too. It's like you get a good workout around people that you like, and then you're also like, I can learn something that I'm not as good at as like moving a barbell or moving, like doing those types of things. So it helps me become a better coach. So if people like want to learn how to do those things, like I'm learning from people that are better than me. So it's like, hopefully that kind of all just trickles down, and it's like, it's all things that I can pass on to my community as well.
Yeah. So. I mean, you've talked about being very ambitious, and I'm sure that parts of that certainly come from your fitness journey. What are some of those things that you're pursuing now?
As far as fitness is related?
Fitness, just life, other professional things, just mainly just because I know I've talked with a lot of people about the idea that when you start prioritizing your fitness and wellness, you just get ambitious about improving your life across the board.
For sure.
So it seems like for you just keep moving the goalposts for yourself. So what does that look like now for things you want to accomplish?
I mean, it's kind of hard. Like I want to, like, I kind of have my hands in a lot of things. So as far as fitness is related, like with the gym, I just want to grow and have a community that can just be supportive of people that want to come and just have a good time and like try to get in shape. And like, that's where I feel like I can really like help people. And then like, but the ambition outside of that is like to generate the type of money that I need to be able to support those things. So it's like having these incentives and having like programs where I can have scholarships for people that need scholarships, and like eventually get to the point where we're just helping a lot of people, helping the community of Schenectady, Albany, whoever. Outside of that, like fitness for me, it's like I want to be able to play with my kids. I want to be able to like operate at a high level, like in my other businesses where I'm kind of like working, like I'm able to work and like stay very mentally clear. And it's like I can't do that, and I can't handle my stress without having fitness. So it's like the sharper my mind is and the sharper my body is, it's like the sharper I am at the other things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's like the better I am, the more I'm able to help people is kind of how I feel.
Right.
So, and it's like I have, it's just like I want to be able to be the type of person that can support like the responsibilities I have and support the people that count on me to do that, So
how do you think about your own sobriety journey now in terms of making sure you're not having fitness be a different type of addiction or a substitute addiction? And I ask because I know there's a lot of people who can fall into that trap.
For sure.
How do you kind of cope with that for yourself?
I think that the mindset around addiction and like the principles of like why it happened and what it is, like it's always like those parts of you are just going to be a certain part of you. Where like if you're going to replace something with something else, like, I mean, it's going to happen. Just, you need to be aware of those things.
Right.
And like, that's where like having people around you that like know and are going through similar things as you, that can like help you see things that you might not be able to see, or like be able to talk to you about things. Like that's where those things are important. So I don't know of anyone that is in sobriety that doesn't have like didn't have that shift into like they have their thing that was their thing and now they have something else. It's like it's just really their thing. So it's just channeling it into something that's like very helpful and very productive and like something that's good instead of something that's detrimental to yourself and to others.
Yeah.
So
What are the things that can happen in your life that you are paying attention to, which are could be triggers? Or I ask because like in yoga, when
mhm.
I am in a good flow, I'll notice a thought or a feeling,
Yep.
and I'll kind of prepare emotional sandbags sometimes, particularly for the grief journey I've been on more recently.
Yeah.
How do you kind of prepare yourself for something if you're worried that something might trigger you to react in a way where you can't really control things the way you want to?
hmm I've actually I feel like I've gotten pretty good at just taking a moment to kind of like not act or say things
Okay.
like without really thinking things through. I mean, sometimes I'll notice with myself, it's like if I start to feel a certain way, and like obviously we grow, and like there's been circumstances or times where it's like you just get very short with people, or I like for me, I just generally kind of distance myself and just become like very like quiet in general. So, and I'll just like bury myself in like work and like instead of focusing on other things that are probably like I should be prioritizing in my life, like those are the things that for me, it's like those are my key points where it's like, okay, like I understand that there's seasons and like you have to work really hard and like to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish, but like making sure that I'm not like using that as a like instead of doing the things that I should be doing when it's like I'm doing this to kind of escape from that.
Yeah. But I guess I'm asking because you like it just seems like that's just a constant struggle for anybody dealing with addiction because you have this brain chemistry that's
Yeah.
wired to be, I think, oftentimes very obsessive
Yeah.
or, and so whether it's work being a workaholic, whether it's like too much fitness pieces, can you think of a time like on your own sobriety journey where you were more at risk for like kind of going back?
Mm.
Because you mentioned a couple times earlier on that you did, you know, kind of get cleaned up and you went back. But anything more recently?
Yeah. I mean, nothing that's really made me think about going back to drinking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are times where, sure, do you miss drinking? Yeah, because there's like certain situations that, like, okay, I'm out to dinner. It just like reminds me of like, okay, I would have loved to have, a glass of this wine with this steak, like things like that. But it's all very minor.
Yeah.
So in addiction, like you have to kind of create these priorities, and it's like when if drinking is a bigger priority than a lot of other things in your life, it's like no matter what happens, it's going to trigger you
Right.
back to wanting to drink, and not like wanting it, but actually like really like obsessing about it. And I haven't felt that obsession in a very, very long time as far as like alcoholism goes, where it's just like that's all I can think about, and it's like I couldn't. Like I might have had one single time where it was like it was really hard for me. Like I was in a place where we were staying at mixed parents condo in Lake George, and like I walked downstairs and I opened the freezer and there's just a bottle of liquor in there, and I was pretty like early in my sobriety, it's just like I was like, and I was just sitting up there in the bed and just thinking about it sitting down there, and I literally I had to wake her up. I was like, we gotta leave.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, we gotta leave.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, I'm like, we just gotta go. And I told her that was the only time that I've really ever had like a
Yeah.
like a very I can't do this type moment. But for anyone struggling with addiction, it's all about like getting enough time away from like the drug or the alcohol, and like getting around people that are very similar
Yeah.
to you. And like for me, it's like I thought that I was special and that no one had ever been through what I had been through, and then finding people that have been through what I've been through and like figuring out how they did it. It's like, all right, like I'm not
Yeah.
like I did, things were bad, like things happened, but
Yeah.
I'm not the only one. Like there's people that can recover, like that recovered from this. Like, if they could do it, so can I, type of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the real evil that gets put out is the feeling that you're the only person going through this. That
Yeah.
everybody else is having their life together. You're the
Yeah.
only one that's ever in such pain. One of the reasons that I was very motivated to keep doing what I've been doing and being an evangelist in my mind for having people be more fit and well in their life is I had a close friend. I won't say his name just for privacy. But he really did struggle and has been on his own sobriety journey. And it pretty much started exactly when I started my weight loss journey.
Yeah.
And I remember at times people at first, when I first started doing stuff on Instagram, people thought I was like, you know, what are you doing this for? And then I remember that conversation where he was like, dude, if you could pull off what you've done, I can get sober.
Yeah.
And that was one of those things where I was like, I gotta keep doing
Gotta
what
keep
I'm
doing
doing.
I agree.
So for people, you know, especially guys who might be dealing with not being able to come to grips or have that moment of realizing I'm addicted to alcohol and I need to get my act together.
Yep.
Do you have any practical advice for them?
I think, I mean, a lot of it's just being honest with yourself. You know, for me, it's like, I knew I had a problem long before I ever tried to quit.
Yeah.
And it was like, I knew that it was there. And I just like, I literally accepted, like, I was in such like radical acceptance of like, this is just what my life is now. Like, this is how I am. This is how it's going to be. Like, my life is garbage. And I literally thought that I was never going to escape from that cycle. And it was, unfortunately for me, it's like I was put in a situation where it's like I was taken away from myself, and like I had the opportunity to, you know, to have some time to think about some things because of my actions. And then, so if I could go back, it's like, I don't know if I would have ever been able to stop on my own. And it was just one of those things where I'm just very grateful for what happened. And that sounds very strange, like something that's very bad. And like most people would not think that, but it was something like, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Cause there's certain, like, and this is where it gets back to like me thinking that I'm special, you know, where it's like, I thought like, okay, I didn't think anyone was going to, like, I literally never thought that I had a chance ever. So I just got so far gone. I was so far lost in my mind. I was so depressed. I was so suicidal. Like, I was just really bad. And I'd been like that for a long time, and it was like in flows. So like when I was a kid, I used to, you know, like when I was a teenager, I used to cut myself and like do all those things. And then as I got a little bit older, like just the booze and the self-harm, and like still would cut myself like into my like late 20s. And then the alcohol was just like, it was, I remember multiple times, like just chugging entire bottles of Jameson and being like, if I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to quit. And then I'd wake up and I'd be like, I'm not dead. This sucks. And I would try it again and again. Like it was really bad. So
can you think of when that moment was when you realized you had more to live for?
Yeah. I mean, so I felt like it before the last time that it happened. So like before this whole thing, it's like I really wanted to try to change. And that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to move to Saratoga. I'm going to start a new life. And like, this is where things are going to get good. And then that was another problem. Like life would start to get good. I would start to like, all right, things are different. I'm dealing with my problems. Like I can probably have some drinks. And then it just kind of.
Is it also like potentially an anxiety that like you're triggering like self-sabotage anxiety because it's like, oh, life is too good.
Yeah.
Like, let me like calm myself
with
alcohol.
Absolutely.
Because I asked because like in his case, I think in his heart of hearts, he had to make a decision. And I know him well enough to feel comfortable saying, I think the number one thing that he ever wants in his life is to be a father.
Yeah. And
he knew that if he couldn't get his act together, he probably wouldn't have that opportunity with the woman he loves. I know he loves with all his heart. Was that in kind of a similar journey for you? Like thinking about being now married and being a father, you knew those things were more important?
Yeah. I mean, I knew that they were important to me, but it wasn't something that, like for me, external motivators like only would get me so far. It's like, the things that I wanted in my life, like I didn't really know what I wanted in my life, like kind of at all. Like I was very lost. Like I just knew that I just literally got to the point where I mean, I don't even really know how to explain it other than like an act of faith, like where I was just taken away from myself. And then like literally I was in a position where I couldn't stop. I couldn't quit. I had no control over myself. I had no control over my actions. And then one day it was just gone.
So let me ask you about your faith journey, because I find that that's a common thread with a lot of people that I've gotten to know in fitness.
Yeah.
I know it is for me. Like I'm wrestling through a lot of stuff with faith but for you, how does your fitness journey kind of relate to your overall faith journey?
Yeah. I mean, fitness for me is like, as far as faith is related, it's like I was given this life, and I was given, honestly, like another chance that I didn't, like, sometimes I still don't feel like I deserved to have. And like, there's has to be a reason for me to have this chance, and like be blessed with all the things that I'm blessed with. So, and I don't feel like it's because of me. I feel like it's because, like, God told me to, like, you're given this chance again. So I'm doing this for you. You know, here's these beautiful children. Here's this wonderful wife. Here's this wonderful community. Here's all these wonderful friends. And it's like, I'm, once again, putting my faith in you. And it's like, the fitness part of it for me, it's like, I have to honor my body so that I can honor faith and honor him and honor my friends, and like, so I can be the type of person that can help people that are like really struggling with things that I've struggled with. And it's like, it's been something for me that I want to be able to help people that were going through what I was going through without having to go through everything that I went through to get to the point where I am.
Yeah.
So, and, and then faith, it's just really, and then our head coach is like, he's a huge man of faith. Riley, he's had cancer 2 times, 26 years old.
Wow.
Leukemia twice. So just crushing it. And it's like, he's a huge man of faith. And like, I feel like he's been put into my life like for a very specific reason. And like, it just kind of all ties together. So, and whatever people believe, like what I choose to believe is what I do. Whatever other people choose, like that's cool too.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's the cool thing though about fitness. And I just said this a lot on different episodes, different people. I think faith is a wonderful thing that can bring a lot of people together.
Mhm.
But there's just the ability to be in community with people with a like-minded goal of just working to become better humans.
Yep.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone's at a place in their journey where they're trying to, like, they're there for a reason, especially in fitness. And that's why it's so wonderful. So you have somebody, this goes back to the sobriety too, where it's like a lot of people show up and they're in a place where someone else has been where they are. And like, now they're there, and it's like, oh wow, like I might not be able to be like him, but I could definitely get here. Like, and then they get there, and it's like, so these people are inspiring them, and then these people, and it's just, everyone's coming together. And it's just, that's why fitness is so wonderful.
Yeah. So I guess in closing, let me ask you, everything we've covered, your journey through sobriety and your own fitness journey, going from an athlete to a gym owner.
Yep.
What would you say to people who feel like they want to prioritize more of their fitness and wellness? But I think for both of us, we have the mindset of don't half-ass your own health. Yeah. I've said that before on past episodes, but I really believe that. Like, at a certain point, you got to get mad as hell and just decide, like you did, like I did, that you've had enough and you're not going to take it anymore. Yeah. What would your advice be for people who are kind of in that state where they're needing that breakthrough?
Biggest advice is just understanding that like you owe it to yourself, you're worth it. Like, just understanding that you're worth having the life that you want to have. So, and if that place in your mind has just been like, you look at things, you look at people, you want to do certain things, you want to do certain activities, it's like, you deserve to have that life. No matter what you did, no matter what happened, no matter what your circumstances, no matter where it is, like, it's something that with like the right people around you and some discipline and some hard work, it's like, you can do it, and you don't have to do it alone. And that's the best part. And there are hundreds of people, thousands of people that will help you, hands down, no questions, show up for you. So if you're looking for someone that's going to help you, and you feel alone and you feel like you can't do it, there's going to be people around you that have done it, will help you do it, and they'll do it for themselves. And eventually you'll do it for yourselves, because we all understand that for us to keep what we have to give back to others that have, like, as we were given to.
Beautiful way to end it. Richard, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.